Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Cars Diecast 4 channel. I want to thank you for watching. And in this episode we're going to be doing a review on the Protech line of die-cast carded protector cases, if you will. Because back in the day when I was a kid, the way that you would protect your die-cast would be by putting them in something called a Protecto-Pak, like this one right here. However, even the website that claims to be the maker of the Protecto-Pak doesn't make this size anymore to protect NASCAR diecast. And understandably so, for a while we didn't have any NASCAR diecast in the stores for a little bit. In fact, the only ones that they seem to carry nowadays are the ones that you would put little diecast or from Hot Wheels in. And so I needed something that would fit, obviously, a diecast of this size. And I kept looking and I kept looking and I kept looking, and then finally I came across a website called CasePros.com. And of course, you know, there might still be some Protecto-Paks out there, but they're pretty expensive. And even this here, this is a big 100-piece case. This was about 150 bucks right here for 100 of them. I think they sell 25 for like 50 if you're looking for a little bit more of an economic deal. But this was the closest thing I could find to it, so we're gonna go ahead and do a review, and this in essence will be a little bit of a tips on how I take care of my diecast as well. So let's go ahead and crack this box open so I can show you what we're talking about here. Alright, as you can see, we've just opened the box and this is what you'll find in here. As I said, this is the 100-piece set, and it's just a bunch of protectors for your NASCAR diecast that seem to be able to fit the majority of diecasts that you see out there in the market. So let's go ahead and pull one bag out here. Alright, we got one bag out here, so let's go ahead and crack this thing open. And I find these to be very good for protecting your diecast in. It's a top option for me. I don't really care too much for putting my diecast in any sort of a glass encasement. I like to have it to where at least I can hold it in my hand at any point pretty much. And so this is what you'll be getting. Now let's go ahead and get a complete box here. Alrighty then, let's go ahead and take a gander here at what the difference is between the old Protecto-Pak here on my left hand, and the right hand will have the Protech version. The big difference right off the bat you will notice here, if you look at the good wrench where the Dale Earnhardt card is at, you'll see that's about the top of where the card surface is, where usually some cars have like a hood, or they have like a big card up here, or some of the old Winter Circle cars, they have license plates here. It allows for a greater clearance, which allows for more ability to accommodate more cars, I should say. The old Protecto-Paks, their card clearance was a lot lower, and I think it looks like their bubble might just be where the diecast sticks out right here. Might be a tick smaller, just a tick smaller. But the big difference here right off the bat, you hear this? These Protechs here are a lot more softer, a lot more lenient. These old Protecto-Paks are very sturdy, very top loader feel. And another thing that you'll notice, let's go ahead and open this Protecto-Pak. You open it, and now you have two independent pieces. You have the back piece and you have the front piece, which could have its pros and cons, but in a lot of cases I notice this is actually more of a blessing, the fact that it is softer and that it does have two independent pieces. The old Protecto-Pak, on the other hand, has a spine that keeps it together. These aren't independent. It's bonded together by the spine here. So it's a lot more protection, but it's a hell of a lot more difficult to fit cars that otherwise may not be able to, that test its tolerances, may not be able to shove the thing in there, and I'll show you some examples. So as I said, I don't know where to buy any of these Protecto-Paks, other than you might be lucky every now and then. There might be a lot of 10 on eBay for sale for like 20 bucks or something like that. But at least let me go ahead and show you some of the limitations with these Protect-Paks, or these Protechs, and even the Protecto-Pak, I should say. For example, let's see here. Let's go ahead and get a Premier Series. This is the old 2002 Premier Series for Racing Champions. This is a Jimmy Johnson chrome car. And if you notice here, you notice how the base for the die cast just sticks out so far. Let's get our Protech here. And it has enough clearance to fit the cardboard of the back, but if you notice, it's the base is now sticking to the very surface of the bubble where the die cast is, and that means that I can't close this thing up. You can see how I can't close it up here because it's reached its maximum clearance. Now there is one Sterling Marlin chrome car from 2001 from the base deal that sticks out real far, and what I did was I just cut this whole piece out right here so that this base could stick out and that the card could come in there, so at least there's protection from the standpoint that the corners won't get more bent up. But this is one of the limitations that you'll have. Now a lot of you probably, or probably the people who watch this probably have old Racing Champions diecast. But some of you who may just be getting into it, you may only have access to what you find at the Walmart for the time being. Let's go ahead and take a modern car here. We have a Kurt Busch. I think this is from 2014, could be 2015. And this here and this year will fit into a Protech. Let's go ahead and take this out and see if it'll fit into the Protecto-Pak, because this might be one of the things where we could see that the Protechs that get, in fact, it won't fit. Actually, as you can see right there, it will not fit into a Protecto-Pak, the old school Protecto-Paks. So this is where a Protech pack or a Protech, I'm trying to not get the names right, Protech, the softer ones, the newer ones that I'm doing a review on. These will actually obviously fit. It pushes the tolerances a little bit from the standpoint that the bubble, or the bubble case where the die cast fits into is a little bit too wide for this box. So it has a little bit of wiggle room, but if you aim it just right, like right there, that's where you want to try to get it to where the edges are both still on the border here, and then you come in and then you close it, because so there you go, it could fit in there. But now this seems to be one of the negatives about these Protechs, the new ones here that I have in my hand, is that they sometimes they weren't molded too right, and so they could be a little loose. I want that car to be in the Protechs regardless. So what I do is I go ahead and I just staple each side. So now I don't have to worry about, I could toss this thing a little bit and this thing's not going to let up. With the Protecto-Paks, they're real sturdy. Like this feels like a top loader. It'd be a lot harder to staple, but you'd have a lot more security with the card not just flopping right out of the box. But as I said, that's the reason why I made sure you know that that's like a 2012 or no, not 2012, but like a 2014 or 15. Well, here's a 2012, I think, of Danica Patrick, if I'm not mistaken. This might be from one of the first years in Cup, and this might be one of the first waves. In fact, I know this for a fact. This is one of the first waves of the Authentic line when it first came out in 2012. And as you can see here, the design that they had, the cut was too wavy, and now the whole bubble of the car where the die cast is in, you can see how crooked that thing is in there. So if you're trying to force this thing in there, this is how it's going to end up fitting. So the old 2012 editions, this is how they are. And as you can see, Miss Patrick over here is pretty dented up here, unfortunately, and Mr. Gordon is all stuck up in there. But with the newer ones, I think this is from this year. I think I bought this year, and this is one of the ones, the new ones that have the hood on it. It's a lot thin, and it's a lot more square at the base. It's not wavy like the first edition was, and obviously, as you could tell, it can fit in there. So if you're wanting to purchase a Protech and you have a lot of the newer NASCAR authentic cars that you see at Walmart nowadays, it should be able to fit the majority of them. Here are some examples of the Protech's limitations being pushed but still being able to accommodate your car. Here's a 2002 rain delay for Jimmy Johnson, 1 out of 500. It's once again, the base sticks out completely, but the rest of it, it seems to be just enough where if you push it in real hard and then you take your staple it up on each corner, you should be able to keep the car in. However, of course, you could end up crushing a little bit inside of the bubble over here, where the bubble that sticks out so that the car could kind of stay up like this. It might get crushed in a little bit if you do it too hard. So once again, that's where your decision. I had a Sterling Marlin that I actually cut this whole section out to allow the car to fit in, and so that you have a little bit of stick out right here, but at least the whole card itself is being protected, so in the event it does get dropped, you don't have to worry about corners being bent and such. So that's an example. Here's another example of the tolerances being pushed. I got to staple the corners. Like I said, here's a 2001 base. This is a Lane rubber, Ken Schrader, and it's once again the old 2001 editions, 2002s, where the bubble or that base keeps sticking out. It's giving me a little bit of a problem there. Okay, let's go ahead and see some other examples. Now let's go to 2003 with Racing Champions. We see a war paint here with Ward Burton. Let's go ahead and grab ourselves another Protech over here, and let's see if that will fit, which I believe it will, because I believe I have a Jerry Nadeau time trials from 2003 and also a Jimmy Johnson steel that should be able, that are fitting pretty well. Before you put the die cast in, however, you do want to knock off all the dust. It wouldn't be too bad of an idea to buy yourself like a duster. Do not put like any sort of applicant, like some Windex or something, and then smear and then wipe it off, because you're just embedding all that dust in, and it'll just keep making the plastic bubble here brittle to the point that one day it'll break. But in this case, we just want to try and see if this will fit. The size does match. It's going to have some wobbling in it, I bet. You just clamp the edges down, and there you go. So it will fit a 2003 base. I don't know if they still had, I think they still had Premier Series, but I don't think the box was a whole lot different with the Premier with Racing Champions back in 03. Let's go ahead and take a gander here and see if, let's see if this Jeff Gordon Baby Ruth racing promo will fit. Trying to go through several variants, because some of you may be wondering if it'll fit, because you don't want to buy a big old box like this, because these are pretty pricey. It's $100 for $150 for a case. And as you can see here, it's kind of what we're dealing with the NASCAR Authentics. The card stock is just a little bit short to cover that bubble clearance here, so you kind of get that deal where the card wants to go in. But let's see if we can at least hit a sweet spot. I mean, this thing should at least be able to fit. So if you just wanted to keep it away from dust and anything else, it should be able to function. And for that part, it should be okay to put in. So there's another example of what you could use. Let's go now to, let's see if it'll fit the old Winter Circle cars. Get a couple examples here. And we have ourselves one of the old Winter Circle. This is the rare Team Authentics line, and of course we have Dale Earnhardt himself. Swatch of his uniform in it, one of the rare ones. I think this is the only year that they made this, and I'm glad that I did this, because as you could tell right there, you see that discoloration in the bubble? It's starting to yellow out, unfortunately. So this might be one of the things I sell here when I open up my eBay shop here in a few months. But nonetheless, though, obviously a high-priced die-cast like this. And when I say high price, I mean at best I'll probably be able to sell this for $100, but that's really pushing it right there. But These things just don't sell like they used to. If this was 2005 or something like that, these would be pretty high expensive cars. But nonetheless, though, another thing about this, if you're wondering, it does have a little hook for you so you can hang it off on a wall. So that's another thing for you to see. It does have the capability to display itself. So it does fit the old winter circle cars for the most part. The newer, or the last years, like let's say from probably 2007 through 2011, I think, the winter circle diecast came with its own protective case. For example, and what I mean by that is that here's an example. I just bought this today because I saw Racing Champions again. They're coming back, but of course they don't have a NASCAR license. They can only make the older, you know, just standard street car diecast. But I bought this because it was so cool. But as you can see, it already has like its own protective case in it. It has the cardboard stock, but then it's all sealed up already. A lot of the old winter circle cars from its last few years in NASCAR, I think 2011, 2012, or 2010 rather I should say, had its own encasement. But let's go ahead. Here's a 1996 Racing Champions, and it fits the card perfectly, or car perfectly. So if you have a bunch of 96 Champions, Racing Champions, it should fit. You may remember this guy from my first video, the essentials of racing. If you may see him in the background, this is the Kevin Harvick Racing Champions. I think this is one of only 2 die-casts that Racing Champions made of Kevin Harvick before he was sent over to Richard Childress. This is pushing the limits, and as you can see here in the corners, I had to staple it in so that it stays locked in, so I could flop this thing around, it could fall over. It should stay locked in together. So it fits that, but it fits that barely, and that's where the stretching the tolerances really do help you when it comes to the softer composite that these Protechs have versus the old Protecto-Paks, which are very hard, very rigid, and did not provide very much tolerance for you to put something that was a little bit wider. Here's another winter circle car from 1999 from Jerry Mayfield. That fits as well. Trying to see around here real quick whatever examples. Let's try to get a little bit of a Hot Wheels car, because you may have a bunch of die casts, but you may have one big Hot Wheels car that you want to put in here, and so you may be trying to think, well, maybe I could put a Hot Wheels car here on this one, a little Protect. Let's see if this will actually work. And just for the sake of sticking it in there, so just for the sake of sticking it in there, and for the most part it does. It's going to be really big, may have a little bit of wiggle room to it, but if you have a small little Hot Wheels car, for the most part it should at least be able to encapsulate it long enough for you to be happy with it. But mainly nowadays you could buy a lot of the like Protecto-Pak type deals that'll fit exactly these Hot Wheels size cars. Let's try an old Revell. Let's try an old Revell. Let's see if this will fit. And it should. So there we have a Revell, and it does fit pretty good. Even if it's not pushing the boundaries, the one thing is that sometimes these weren't molded to fit each other properly, so you might get a few of them that are a little bit of a bad batch, but it will still close in on itself. If you really are die-hard about not wanting it to get out of the package, you can just go ahead and just staple the sides, give a staple to the bottom, and that should keep the thing locked in there so that in the event it does drop, it doesn't get wobbled out. Here's another example of the NASCAR Authentics. Like I said, this is one of the Chase Elliott cars. Seems to fit very well. Matchbox, we got a Matchbox die cast, and it seems to fit pretty well. This is one of the old Superstar Racing of good old Davey Allison. Even have a Batman, a Batmobile that was able to fit, although it has a lot of this crap on it, but that's not because of the casing, that's because of me being a kid. So I have a Batmobile here from Ertl, that fit. And then finally we'll wrap it up. Here's a 1990 Racing Champions Dale Earnhardt car, and that seems to fit pretty well as well. So that's been the review of the Protech die-cast protectors. I hope you enjoy this video. We're going to start doing a lot more die-cast showcasing here soon. We're starting to wrap up our cards here. The reason why I'm delaying on the PSA video is because the United States Post Office, I have one Danica Patrick autograph that's been sitting in Michigan for some odd reason for a week. They just now start processing it to get sent down over here. So nonetheless though, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was informative. Please like and subscribe all my videos at Cards2 Diecast 4, Cards the number 2 Diecast 4 on Twitter, and I will see you all later.